Hey guys, and welcome to day 17 and 18 of Vlogtober. This is actually like way after the fact, but I didn't vlog either of these days because I'm an idiot. But I'm going to tell you a little story that happened on Saturday, October 17th, which is one of the days I didn't vlog. So I was at King's Dominion for Fall Rally for Key Club. It's like Key Clubbers from Maryland, DC, Virginia, and Delaware. I think those are the 4 states. They go there and they like meet up, and so me and 3 of my friends were together for most of the day, like doing rides and everything. And we wanted to ride this thing called the Volcano. If you know King's Dominion, you know it's a roller coaster. It's like one of the inverted ones, and you go, like, you come out of a volcano. It's really cool and it's like fun. And it was closed earlier in the day, and the guy was like, yeah, it'll probably be closed all day. So we were like, okay, like, we were sad because that was like one of the main ones we wanted to do, that and the indoor one, which we actually did get to do the indoor one. So yeah, later in the day we come back and we see that it's running and the line's open, so we ran to the line, and like people were like about to get in line, but like we ran and like got there before them because we were like really excited. And we shouldn't have done this because in front of us was this guy by himself, and he was alone. That's what I just said, by himself, alone, synonyms. But he was by himself, and as soon as we get in line, he turns around, and me and the 3 girls were like standing like this, and he was like here. So it was kind of like a circle, but he was just going like this at me, like staring at me, and I was trying not to acknowledge him because I didn't feel like dealing with that. And mind you, this line was 3 hours long. We didn't know this when we got in line, but yeah, 3 hours we would be in this line. So he stares at me for about 20 minutes. Like, I'm not exaggerating, like 20 minutes. He just like stares at me, and then he goes, "Your eyes are really pretty." And I'm like, "Thank you." So I'm thinking to myself, this is why he was staring at me. He thinks my eyes are pretty, so he was just staring at me for my eyes. But no, he continues to look at me, and then we move up the line a little bit, and he calls his friend on the phone, and he goes, "Yeah, she's blonde, her hair's in a ponytail, she's wearing skinny jeans, a green jacket, gray boots, she has very pretty eyes. I'm staring at her right now. I'm literally looking at her right now." And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this is creepy. Like, he's on his phone literally describing me to his friend, and I'm like, this is scary. Like, I don't know, I was just kind of like creeped out, but I was like laughing at this point because like I laugh like pretty much all the time. So I'm laughing, and then he hangs up the phone, and he's like, "My friend thinks you're really pretty." And I'm like, how does he think I'm pretty? He can't see me. And he was like, "I described you to him on the phone, and he thinks you're really pretty." And I was like, okay. And that was it. And then he's like still looking at me, like not as like intensely like this. And then he asked us, he's like, "How long is normal to stare at a person?" And we were like 5 seconds max. And he was like, oh, he seemed like so shocked that it wasn't normal to stare at people for like 20 minutes. But yeah, so he was just like awkward, and he was like, "I'm socially awkward, can you tell?" And we were like, we didn't want to be like, "Yeah, you're so awkward, like don't talk to us," because like I'm a nice person, like I'm not going to do that to you. And he's like, "I like your teeth." And I'm like, "Thanks, like that's not that weird of a thing to say." I asked Allie, would it be weird to tell her I like the shape of her nose? And Allie's like, "Go ahead." So he told me, and I was like, thanks. Like, okay, it's getting weirder. And at this point he's staring like on and off. He's not like this anymore, but he's like he'll look at me and like stare for a couple minutes, like a couple seconds, not like minutes anymore. He'd stare at me for like a couple seconds and then like look away and then stare again. But it was creepy. And then he asked me for my name, and I like froze, and my thoughts were like going everywhere. I was like, do I tell him a fake name, or like have my friends already said my name and he's gonna be like, "You're lying, like that's not your name." So I was like, "Destiny." Like I said it like fast and like, "Destiny." And he was like, "Nice to meet you." And he shakes my hand. Okay, he like squeezes my hand really hard, and he's shaking my hand. Okay, that's not what it looks like, but he's shaking my hand really hard, and I'm pulling away, but he's still like shaking my hand so like intensely, and I'm like this is scary. Like he's actually like physically like I don't know, it was just, I didn't like it. And then he said, I like the way your thumb is attached to your hand. Thanks. He said, is it weird to say I like the skin on your face? Someone's knocking at my door. I'm scared. I don't know who it is. There's no car. But the guy that was knocking at my door left. But anyway, the last thing he said was, would it be weird to say I like the skin on your face? And I'm like, yeah, like, that would be weird. And he, like, kind of was distant from then. At this point, he was just copying what I did. Like, if I stood like this, he would stand like this. I, like, put my leg up on, like, the pole at one point, because we were standing for 3 hours, so I, like, put my leg up to like rest, and then I like sat on it, and he like copied everything I did, which was weird. And then, oh, I forgot this part. This was like after he said the nose shape thing. I don't really know the order, but we were like laughing. We were like, because you know, because we were writing down everything like funny that happened that day. Like, we wrote down everything funny that happened that day in our phone, so we were like adding stuff he said, because we were like, this is funny, like I need to remember this, looking at it and like laughing. And he's like, you can't laugh, you can't smile, you can't have a good time. And we're like, okay, why? He's like, if you keep laughing there will be consequences. And I'm like, God. At one point he just looked at me and he was like, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you winking at me? Like, I'm not interested. And he just like didn't say anything, because he's like really weird. And then he's like, I'm very lonely, could you give me a hug? And I'm like, no. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, I'm 16 years old and my mom is 18. Like, my parents got divorced and my dad married a 18-year-old and I'm 16. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then he's like, just kidding. I should have brought my gun here. And we're like, what? And he was like, yeah, I should have brought my gun. He's like, yeah, I should have brought my gun. I brought my gun to school once and I got expelled. And we're like, this is scary. Like, that's serious. Like, oh, that's not even like a joke. And he's like, just kidding. And we're like, okay. And then he's like, I got suspended for 3 days from my school for saying something inappropriate to a girl. And we're like, okay, like, don't want to hear it. And he's like, you want to know what they said? And I'm like, go ahead. And he was like, I went up to this random girl and said I wanted to bend her over and her. And I was like, okay, like, I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. Like, you're nasty. Like, ugh. At this point I was like, get away, like, get away. Like, I did not want to be near him, and I was like hiding behind like my friends, like in the corner, so he couldn't like see me or talk to me or anything, but he still managed to. And at one point we were playing I Spy, and he was like, can I play? And we were like, sure, I play. And then he was like, I spy someone beautiful with blonde hair. And I was like, it's me, like joking. And he was like, no, just kidding, of course it's you. And I'm like, like, you stop, like, please stop, like, it's not cute. Then he goes, can I touch your hair? It looks soft. And I'm like, no, it's not soft. And he's like, well, I can get the knots out for you. And I'm like, no, like, don't touch me. And then he goes, can I smell your hair? And I was like, no. He said, would it be normal to smell your hair? And I was like, no, that's really weird, like, that's not normal at all. And then about 5 to 10 minutes later, we're all standing there, and he's like kind of distant from us, like he was in front of us and I was like back here, and my friends were like here. So he swerved through them and went, like, he got all like up on me and like sniffed my hair, and I was like, what the heck? Like, and at this point I got really annoyed and like mad, and I was just like annoyed because I'm just trying to stand in line, just trying to ride a roller coaster, just trying to have a good time, and you're like, you wouldn't leave me alone the second I got in line. So I like yelled at him and I like freaked out on him. I was like, I told you that wasn't normal. You asked me if it was normal to smell people's hair and I told you it wasn't. Why would you do that? Like, the second I got in line, you've been staring at me. You haven't left me alone this entire time. You're describing me to your friend. You constantly say like weird things to me. You're staring at me the entire time. You're copying what I do. And he was just like, oh. And then he like, shut up, finally. And I'm like, hallelujah, like, this is Jesus himself, like, saving me. And then this whole time he was kind of like talking to Allie a little bit. Allie is putting on gloves and he's like staring at her hands, and I was like, they're just gloves, like what are you doing? Why are you looking at her hands? She's just putting on gloves, it's a normal thing. And he was like, and like turned around again. And at this point we're like almost out of the line, and I'm like, hallelujah, part 2. Mind you, this was at like the Haunt Fest, and he was scarier than any of the like scary people. Like this was the scariest experience of the thing, and it was like supposed to be like a haunted, like, you know, like scary people walking around in like haunted houses, but the scariest part of my day was him. But yeah, and his name was like Toby or Tony or something. I don't even recall what his name was. I didn't even know, like the second he said it, I didn't pay no mind to it because I'm like, I don't want to know your name, so I didn't even like listen really. Oh, and at one point, I forgot this as well, but he was like, can you look me in the eyes for like 2 seconds? And I'm like, why? Like, no. And I was like looking over, and he was like, please, 2 seconds. Like looked at him, and I was like, and then I looked away, and he was like, thanks. And I was like, okay. That was my little story. And after the coaster, thankfully he was on a different like train than us. I think he would have left us alone at this point anyway, after I like had yelled at him, and also Haley yelled at him. Vlogtober day 17, 18, and I hope you guys liked it, and thank you guys for watching, and have a good day. Bye! Hey guys, so I'm on the toilet and I was about to pee, and then I just remembered something that I needed to add real quick before I peed, and I didn't feel like getting up, so like some of the people were leaving the line because it was so long. One guy like stepped on this creepy guy's foot, and he was like, he stepped on my bunions, and I was like, oh my god, I was cracking up at that point, because that was like, this was near the beginning, and he was just kind of like, I was like, oh, this is just kind of like a weird kid, like whatever, and he said that, and it was like so funny. And yeah, I just wanted to add that in because he stepped on my bunions.